It's those incredible animals and those incredible animal rescuers. I'll introduce you to a remarkable woman who has dedicated her life to rescuing and rehabilitating abandoned wildlife.
People say, oh, I love jaguars, or I love leopards. I've always wanted to have one. A lot of people mistake love for possession.
You'll meet California's coastal rescuers.
It's a special type of group of people that do this kind of work. It's not people that are out to make their first million, this type of thing. It's people that are dedicated and down to earth.
We'll visit a penguin patient and a hedgehog hospital. Hello, I'm Loretta Swit. Welcome to Those Incredible Animals. You know, when you visit a place like this, Marine World, Africa, USA, and you have close encounters with beautiful wild animals like this great horned owl, Hemingway. You want to take them all home with you. I know I do. They're so gorgeous, and you want to make them pets. Before you think any more about that, I want you to meet a friend of mine, a woman who spends her life taking care of other people's mistakes. Can you imagine having one of these for a pet? Well, some people do, but many times they do it without thinking. For instance, what happens when this cute and cuddly thing grows up to be what it is, a wild animal, and starts looking at people as if they were dinner? What then? Many times, those animals are abandoned or sent to zoos. But what if the zoos won't take them? Well, there is a place that will. This is the Wildlife Way Station. It's a second chance for former exotic pets and other animals. The Way Station was founded 16 years ago by this determined woman, Martine Collette, and the compound, nestled in the hills north of LA, has grown over time with a wonderful mission.
Our primary purpose is to return all native wildlife back to the wilderness areas when we can, after we have provided medical treatment or rehabilitation or nurturing and raising. And for the exotic wildlife, such as tigers and jaguars, it's a halfway house on the way, hopefully, to a good quality zoo and a park. My father was a naturalist. I was an only child. We traveled all over the world, and all of my background is in wild animals. And the Wildlife Way Station concept was born predominantly out of a need. I didn't wake up one morning and have a brilliant idea. The need showed itself over the years, and as the need grew, I began the Wildlife Way Station to fill the growing need.
Unlike local shelters for dogs and cats, there is no other place in the country for wild and exotic animals except this. Anything from hummingbirds to lions and tigers and bears find their way to the Way Station. Now, these bears get care here because they learned some very naughty ways from humans and lost their own home in a national park.
She is one of those bears that got into trouble with people in the park. People don't understand about feeding wildlife, and so when they go through the Yosemite or the Sequoia Park, they feed them out of cars and car windows and snap pictures. Mm-hmm. They develop a bad habit.
Which is what?
They take the doors of cars to get inside the vehicles.
Very bad habits, yes.
Very. Particularly if you have a Porsche and your door just fell off.
Some used to be circus animals, others were somebody's pet. And either the owner died and they lost their home, or they were mistreated or abandoned and had nowhere else to go. Though the mission here is to find new homes for all, some animals were so abused that they can never be relocated, and they will live out their lives with Martine. Nicholas, a Bengal tiger, was malnourished as a cub, and now his front legs are shorter than they should be. But he wound up here because he was an accomplice in crime.
This one, by the way, was used as a drug runner between Oregon and Mexico. The people transferred him for various reasons between the two places, and they smuggled drugs in his cage. That's why he is here.
Because the guards or inspectors wouldn't go.
Well, sure. Who's going to go into a tiger's
cage? Put it in a cage?
Yes.
Wow, what a story.
For these animals, the Wildlife Way Station is their retirement home, a caring place to spend the rest of their lives. But many of the 1,000 animals who come here every year don't stay. Hundreds of raccoons, coyotes, birds, and other wildlife are treated and released to their natural homes. In this hospital, they get medical attention from a volunteer veterinarian. But all this isn't cheap. To feed a lion or tiger for a year costs $1,800, and they have over 40 of them, not counting the hundreds of other resident animals. The way station's work is all done by volunteers, and funding comes through private donations. Yes, they are beautiful animals, but they don't make good pets. Martine says it's best for wild animals to stay wild and free. It's just better for everyone that way.
People say, oh, I love jaguars, or I love leopards. I've always wanted to have one. A lot of people mistake love for possession. If somebody truly loves them, they should leave them alone.
After seeing those animals and hearing Martine's stories, I guess you can understand why we call them wild animals. If you want a pet, keep it domestic. Consider a dog or a cat or a parakeet. Joining me now is Marine World Africa USA's bird trainer, Anne-Marie Bisagno, and a great horned owl, Hemingway. Hello, Hemingway. You want to sit here? Hemingway was also rescued. Do you want to tell us that story, Anne-Marie?
Yes, Hemingway was found as a chick, and he had fallen out of his nest. So some ladies picked him up, they found him and up in Northern California, and brought him into their home and fed him and brought him back to health. And then they realized that they can't keep a great horned owl as a pet. And they took it to a rehabilitation center, and that's where we acquired Hemingway.
He's beautiful. Are they endangered?
No, they're not.
Thank goodness for that. Thanks so much, Anne-Marie.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking care of our Hemingway here. Next on Those Incredible Animals, California's Coastal Rescuers.
Sometimes people seem to step on their rights, and we're there to make sure that they get their fair share.
This portion of Discovery is brought to you in part by Office Depot.
No other city in the world has more beautiful neon signs than Las Vegas. And nobody manufactures more neon signs than Yesco. They buy raw materials from out of state, but they get office supplies right here in town from Office Depot. With 350 stores from Vancouver to Vegas, millions of other companies also take care of business at Office Depot. Because when they want guaranteed low prices, Office Depot is a sure bet. Taking care of business.
If you've got what it takes, you can make it to the top.
They put me in a lineup, and he said, no, you can't go. You're under arrest for murder.
Look behind the headlines.
And it may well be that the wrong man is in jail.
At crime and the law.
Something's wrong here.
Controversial cases.
I'll take a lie detector test, whatever I have to do to prove it to you, I'll do it.
Justice Files. Tonight at 11 Mountain, 10 Pacific. Only on the Discovery Channel.
When you or I get hurt, somebody can call an ambulance or get a doctor. When animals are injured in the wild, they are often left to die, unless they're lucky enough to be found by the California Rescue Squad.
He's not very active at all. He should be up fighting the crowd and looking around at what's going on. There's enough action around here. He's not making any attempt at all to go back in the water. You know, people can cry help over a phone and such. Animals can't. They lie there until somebody recognizes that they're in stress and such. There's very few agencies that do help injured or hurt animals. And I'm one of those agencies and giving the animals their fair share. They've been around for as long as we've been around. And sometimes people seem to step on their rights. And we're there to make sure that they get their fair share.
Dan Qualls is the leader of one of the most successful rescue teams in the country. This team is highly trained, risking falls, animal bites, and often their own lives to save our wildlife. This beached sea lion is just one of hundreds of animals that will be saved this year by the Monterey Wildlife Rescue Unit.
Looks good. He's a young pup. He's got a few lacerations on him. We'll treat those, see if we can get him going. Maybe get some food in, get some antibiotics. He should be fine.
The Wildlife Rescue Center is the only facility in the country that provides rescue, care, and rehabilitation for injured or orphaned wild animals of every kind. Pat Quinn came to the SPCA in Monterey, California as an animal control officer.
Every day we learn something different. I think if I came to the point where I wasn't learning anything anymore, I would do something different. But you never come to that in this job.
The lives of these critters are in the hands of Dan and his field rescue team. People trained in cliff climbing, scuba diving, and medical care as thorough as any human rescue team. The big difference is, of course, that Dan's victims aren't always so anxious to be rescued.
That's one of the hard thing about animal rescue versus human rescue. Humans, you can communicate with them. Tell them to lie still, you're there to help them. Animals, they're frightened the whole bit. Sometimes seems impossible. You know, getting to them, it might seem easy, but getting them to cooperate with you without biting your arm or your leg is the hard part.
Dan and his crew are spending much of their time rescuing seals hurt by the pounding surf. Others, such as this baby, only a few hours old, get separated from the herd. It's Dan's job now to find the mother of this baby.
You try bottle?
This baby sea otter has been kept alive for 7 days by Pat and her staff of volunteers. He's kept under 24-hour care because sea otters are exceptionally sensitive to temperature and stress. Medically treating and rehabilitating wild animals is always risky, too. The dilemma is because you're not supposed to tame these animals. To prepare them for their eventual release back to nature, they must remain wild animals. So you, in effect, must encourage them to fear you.
Okay. Release is probably the most exciting part of our job. That's the culmination of everything we've done for it. Most often, they don't turn around and say goodbye. They just go. And I think the feeling you get is just being able to watch them finally be released to where they belong.
Releases are special because it's a reward to the officer. You know, you spend a lot of time and dedication in getting the animal out of that dangerous situation, watching it being rehabbed, and then going out and actually watching it go back into the wild. It's kind of a motivation, and you take kind of pride in it because you save that animal and put it back out to where it belonged. You know, I think it's what keeps everybody going.
Right now, Dan's only thought is to release this baby seal to its parents. The best they can hope for is to take the pup into the water and hope that Mom can spot him or recognize his cry. After some tense moments, Mom and Dad finally come out of the herd to claim their missing pup. Now they can take it away from the strong surf where it will be safe. Happy endings like this one aren't that common for the team, but when they come along, it is nice.
You feel good after you spend a day and maybe get 2 or 3 rescues in, and at the end of the day, you know, you've accomplished something. I didn't push a pencil or I wasn't behind a typewriter or such. I've actually got to see what I've done. It's a special type of group of people that do this kind of work. It's not people that are out to make their first million, this type of thing. It's people that are dedicated and down to earth. We all have our own set of goals, but they're all pointed in the same direction, and that is trying to preserve the wildlife.
Coming up on those incredible animals, Beaker, our penguin patient.
Medicine is medicine. The only difference is how you catch them.
I'm in 2nd grade and I can read this 5th grade book. We can consider ourselves lucky that we will never have to worry about...
When Jay first came to Red Apple School, she was a total non-reader. After only 7 months of using Hooked on Phonics, she progressed through the end of a 5th grade reading level.
Dragons are mythical beasts, imaginary creatures that people used to believe were real. Hooked on Phonics worked for me.
Call 1-800-ABCDEFG.
What do dogs respond to? The taste of meat. Iams knows meat protein makes dogs look and feel healthy. It's so important for eyes, muscle tone, skin and coat, and energy. That's why there's more chicken-based protein in Iams than the leading dry dog food. So feed your dog the taste he loves. Iams, and he'll thank you in so many ways. Because quality protein matters, insist on Iams.
They put me in a lineup, and he said, no, you can't go. You're under arrest for murder.
Justice Files. Tonight at 11 Mountain, 10 Pacific. only on the Discovery Channel.
At Topanga Plaza, you'll find great names like Pastille.
For style in sync with your attitude and lifestyle, making style easy at Pastille, located at the second level near the Broadway.
Kids Cameras.
With Kids Low Price and great gift guarantee, you can't go wrong. Cameras, camcorders, binoculars, frames, and much more. Kids is the picture place.
Howard & Phil's Western Wear.
This holiday, whether you're two-stepping or just stepping out, you'll find all your Western fashions at Howard & Phil's Western Wear.
Topanga Plaza. Come see what we're made of.
Tune in to Prime Ticket Sunday through Friday for all the scoops, scores, highlights, and interviews on Pressbox. Sports News nightly at 10, only on Prime Ticket. Sports LA style.
The latest medical advances are turning what would otherwise be life-threatening situations into relatively routine procedures. Relatively routine, that is, unless your patient has feathers.
This is the extracorporeal shockwave lithotripter. It's basically a large tub filled with warm water. And on the floor of the tub, there is a shockwave generator and a shockwave spark gap.
This is a lithotripser. This million-dollar piece of machinery has saved hundreds of people painful and dangerous surgery. Dr. Joe Turoff from Germany has been working with it to crush kidney stones without surgery at the University of California in San Francisco. But it has yet to reach its fullest potential.
It's a high voltage discharge.
The patient is carefully suspended in specially treated water over what is actually a great big spark plug, which generates a powerful shock wave. By focusing the shock waves on the patient's kidney stones, it's possible to turn the offending stones to gravel. Today, Dr. Turoff's patient is a very special one.
To my knowledge, the first penguin ever treated in this kind of device. Everything is the same except the size of the patient.
The patient is Beaker, a Magellanic penguin from the San Francisco Zoo. He was born at the zoo in 1984 and has become a real favorite. But Beaker has a problem. He has the penguin equivalent of kidney stones. Actually, in penguins, they're more like colon stones. He's had them once before, and his doctor, San Francisco Zoo veterinarian Craig Machado, fed him plenty of liquids that dissolve the stones. Beaker just hasn't had any luck with that treatment this time, but something has to be done.
The alternative would be that the stones would begin to grow and get even bigger, and as they get bigger, they will form an obstruction, and therefore the animal will not be able to eat or defecate or anything like that, and then would die. It would be a terminal position.
But in this case, what works for humans should work for penguins.
Medicine is medicine. The only difference is how you catch them. Yeah.
How darling. The stone crush becomes a major media event. Cameras from every television station, newspaper, and wire service hold court in the hallway, while Beaker is put under general penguin anesthesia. When the lithotripsy begins, Beaker is almost lost in the crush of cameras and curious medical technicians. The lithotripsy is going well, and Beaker is repositioned as the procedure continues. But it's taking longer than expected, and Craig Machado becomes concerned over the monitoring of the penguin's vital signs.
That's a lot of foreign you've been pumping, you know?
Okay, hold on. Bring him up.
There's nothing to worry about. I don't want to take a chance. How's the respiration?
After trouble with the penguin-sized blood pressure cuff, the decision is made to complete the procedure at another time. Beaker will regain consciousness quickly, but must spend the night in the hospital. before he can rejoin his zoo pals.
I think things went very, very well for the first procedure. There were multiple stones in there, and we were able to disintegrate, I would say, over 40 to 60% of them. There are still some left. We did have some trouble due to the length of the anesthesia, so we said, this will be fine. We know that the procedure will work, and we'll be able to come back and do much smaller stones in the future. I consider it a very good success.
And how does Beaker feel about his day in the hospital?
I think he wondered who I am and where's New Year's.
The story doesn't end there. You will all be pleased to know that Beaker's surgery was a huge success. He's all better now, and he's back with his penguin pals at the San Francisco Zoo.
Next stop on those incredible animals, the Hedgehog Hospital for some intensive caring.
This portion of Discovery is brought to you in part by Fancy Feast Gourmet Cat Food.
When a new creation comes from Carolina Herrera, you know it will be classic. When a new design comes from Vacheron Constantin, you know it will be timeless. And when a new dry cat food comes from Fancy Feast, you know it will be extraordinary. Introducing new Fancy Feast Gourmet Dry. So supremely delicious, so exquisitely satisfying. It could only come from Fancy Feast. New Fancy Feast Gourmet Dry cat food. Good taste is easy to recognize.
Tonight's top story, storms on the East Coast causing delays up and down the entire eastern seaboard.
No, my plane's stuck somewhere back east.
Your flight has been canceled. The 5 most hated words of every business traveler. It's an absolutely guaranteed instant headache. You're just suddenly helpless. On a day like this, I know it's not the airline's fault, but that's not the point.
Sir, your plane has been held up.
I'm just looking for some answers. I want somebody to tell me my options.
In Los Angeles at 7
I just want somebody to tell me when I can get out of
Let's
here.
see if we can reroute you to another city.
Those are the people I come back to. They try and find a way and make it happen. They give me my best option, maybe even on another airline. I appreciate that, because you know, a little honesty goes a long way. Tell Billy to look for me at halftime. I'll be there.
Never in history has one singular part of our planet been the scene of such an evolutionary explosion. Don't miss The Great Rift. Tuesday at 11 Mountain, 10 Pacific, only on the Discovery Channel.
There are a lot of animal hospitals around the world, but it's rare when private citizens devote their spare time to caring for injured wildlife. And it's even rarer when they specialize in an animal that most people would choose to ignore.
Les and Sue Stalker are true animal lovers.
Come on, Chestnut. Chestnut, come on. You going to say hello? I just tweak the end of my nose, yeah? Tweak the end of my nose.
Besides Chestnut, Les and Sue own an albino squirrel, a badger, a lame deer, several different birds of prey, rabbits, ducks, and gulls. They've turned their entire backyard into a zoo.
Stockers with the loonies on the corner that'll take them, you see.
Les and Sue run a wildlife hospital at their home in Aylesbury, England. They take in all kinds of injured and sick animals and release them when they're well. Last year, they cared for over 4,000 wild animals, including a rather unusual species they keep locked in the garage. The family car and lawnmower have been shoved out to make room for one of the dirtiest and ugliest of God's creatures, the hedgehog.
Isn't he beautiful? He's so ugly. Look, he's lovely.
Les and Sue's love for these spiny, insect-eating mammals began several years ago when battered hedgehogs started arriving at their doorstep. Word spread quickly, and today the Stalkers have the first and only hedgehog hospital in the world.
He's had a very bad eye, it says. But there's the trouble with working on hedgehogs, you know, they just jump out the way all the time. He's puffing and puffing.
Les and Sue get about 1,000 hedgehogs a year. Even the British Railroad has agreed to rush the prickly creatures to Aylesbury. The Stalkers have done more than just care for the hedgehog. They have organized a worldwide effort to save them. Les has written a book on hedgehogs, which became the #2 bestseller in Britain. Suddenly, the downtrodden, stepped-on hedgehog has been elevated to one of England's newest garden pets.
Getting quite the thing in Britain that their garden's got a hedgehog, and people are beginning to design their gardens so that they get the local hedgehog population living in their garden and not next door.
You won't find hedgehogs devouring garden bugs here in this country, but they can be found just about everywhere else in the world. Les and Sue get calls from all over, and they're getting fairly good at diagnosing ailing hedgehogs in Germany as well as Norway.
I'm not really sure what's wrong with them yet, but as you can see, the problem with hedgehogs is when you try and look at what's wrong with them, they curl into this ball, and you've got nothing you can see, so you really have to sort of work on them to try and get them to open up.
Not all hedgehogs are this shy. Les and Sue have become so attached to their favorite patients that they've named them. This one is called Curly, and here's the hospital mascot, an albino named Snowflake.
Sort of treated like His Majesty, you know. Everybody but everybody makes a big fuss of Snowflake.
Like people under the weather, a hedgehog on the mend can get grouchy at times.
What's happened to this one? He's had the wrong... Somebody's been feeding him the wrong food, and he's just obese. Aren't you? Eh? Oh, and he bites as well. You're a little perisher, aren't you?
Feisty or shy, and with a face only a mother hedgehog could love. But Les and Sue wouldn't give up their little friends for anything.
I just wish we had two garages, you know, to take in even more hedgehogs, you know.
I'm deeply grateful to all of those dedicated people who are helping sick, injured, and neglected wildlife. Battle to save wildlife is waged on every front. With the growth of public awareness, people like you, we may have a chance to win that war. From Marine World Africa USA in Vallejo, California, I'm Loretta Swit. This is Hemingway. See you next time on those incredible animals.
Loretta Swit's accommodations provided by the Campton Place Kempinski Hotel in San Francisco, part of a worldwide family of luxury hotels.
Join us for those incredible animals every Tuesday and Friday evening at 7. But next, find yourself face-to-face with a hungry tiger on safari, followed by Secrets of the Deep, only on the Discovery Channel. Explore your world.
Car crime, tonight on Justice Files.
Most of the floats at Mardi Gras are made right here at Blaine Kern Artists. They make things bigger than life. But for office supplies, they make one call to Office Depot. Office Depot takes care of business for millions of companies throughout North America. From Bergen Street